Hello everyone, this is Wolfie of Mistforge, and with Gigantic being only a couple days away from full release, I've started thinking back on the journey to where we are today. My whole adventure with this game started back near the end of 2014, and I've seen things grow and change. New heroes and features, delays and fallbacks, and even the coming and going of players. This game really has been through a lot. For this video, I want to really think about the things we have now compared to back in the day. There have been several quality of life changes, some good and some that made us really question the purpose behind them. But at the same time, it's hard to imagine that there was once a time where we didn't have these features that we no longer think twice about. Without any further delay, this is my top 5 picks for features we sometimes forget we didn't always have. Number 5. Alternate paths to D Point on Sanctum Falls. I really wanted to not include map exclusive things on this list, but I felt like this was way too important. Back in the day when fighting over what was often referred to as the clash point on the classic map, both teams had one direct path to get into or out of the point if they wanted to attack or defend. The grassy paths on the sides facing into the clash arena still existed, but there was no collapsed walls that led down into the stairways. These paths opened a ton of possible flanking opportunities for assassins and gave range to set up position at a relatively safe distance. Most importantly, it made it so that D Point wasn't an impenetrable bunker that housed free power to whichever team just happened to get there first. Number 4. Being able to see ally focus charges. Nowadays, you can look at your team's character icons and see how many focus charges they have, if any. Back in the day, you had no indicator of a readied focus for anyone but yourself. Can you imagine not knowing if your team had their focus abilities ready? You would have had to been in some form of comms just to tell your team that you were able to use it. And think about upgrading creatures. How would you know which person used their focus to upgrade? What if you needed that focus to win the next fight? I can't imagine how uncoordinated teams would be today if they weren't able to look up their allies and see what was available, even with voice chat. Number 3. Cyclops Walls and Bloomer Blooms. Yes, believe it or not, the Cyclops used to not provide a wall that blocked off enemies from moving a certain path. Instead, the Cyclops was a bulky creature who acted more like a tank that absorbed blows and had crowd control. Some of these aspects still exist today, but we could never deny that our favorite part of this creature family is the walls. Bloomers were always made to be healers, but they did not always leave little flowers for you to pick up when you were low. This feature is actually only a little less than a year old on the published date of this video. Bloomers also didn't have a healing beam. Instead, they affected a large area around them, similar to Cerberus Vision, that healed allies for a small amount per second. And though those little healing orbs still seem to pull off some disappearing acts, we're still thankful for their existence. Number 2. Health Orbs from enemy corpses. Could you imagine a time where you weren't able to pick up a 300 healing orb after you secured a kill? If you were an assassin, you had to take whatever health you had left and book it if you were low. Those health orbs are something most of us don't even think about unless we're at critical health and in immediate danger, in which case we scream at our teammates to not touch them. I remember very clearly when this change was introduced in core and all the salt everyone had for even thinking this could be part of the game. This actually was my number 1 pick, but there was something else I remembered at the last minute. Before I get to my number 1 pick, I want to give some honorable mentions. Guardian voice lines. Our Guardians used to be very quiet. Unless they were attacking or rampaging, you'd rarely hear a peep out of them. In today's game, our Guardians tell us everything between the creatures are being attacked to following them to attack the other Guardian. There used to not even be a voice line for when you are the last man standing on your team. We're glad for the information our Guardians give us today, especially since Gren is voiced by the amazing one and only Adam Harrington. Auto wound indicators. You know that little flashing on the enemy Guardian's health at the top of the screen when you get a rampage sometimes? Well, if you don't, that's the auto wound indicator. Before that was added into the game, players had to guess if a rampage would be an auto wound or not and position themselves accordingly. If they guessed wrong, it was a long trek across the map to finish the job, or a quick scamper to get out of harm's way. The only reason this wasn't on the list is because it's still technically a new feature. Healing auras on all creatures. So you're about to die to bleed or burn and your healer can't reach you. You manage to get back to your creature and think you're safe, only to find that they can't do anything to save you. Yes, back in the day, other creature families than the Bloomer did not have a healing aura. Bloomers were the only ones that were able to heal you, and as said earlier, back in Alpha, Bloomers didn't even have a healing beam. So if you did manage to get to them, that didn't guarantee your safety either. Next time that 35 healing a second from the Cerberus saves you, be thankful that he can do that now. Number 1. Not consuming partial focus charges for upgrading creatures. If you don't know what I mean by this, I'll draw another scene for you. Imagine that you want to upgrade a baby Cerberus into a Cerberus Majoris. You have one full focus charge and about 3/4 of your way into your second full charge. Well, back in the day, if you decided to upgrade your creature, you would consume every last bit of your focus bar and would have to rebuild that progress all over again. Today, you still have that remaining 3/4. Back then, you'd be back at 0. The best part about this change is that it's one of the few changes made into the game that, as far as I could research, no one had anything negative to say about. It was one of the most open arms accepted changes in all of the game's history, and it's still sometimes hard to believe that it was not always that way. That'll be the end of my list for the top 5 features we sometimes forget we didn't always have. If you enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing so you'll know when more content comes out. If you would like to see more top 5 videos like this one, leave a like so that I know you're interested. Don't forget that Mistforge is now on Patreon, link in the description. Thanks for watching, have a great day, and we'll see you on the airship.